Record. Perfect. Okay, we got this. Anyway, so today we're going to talk a lot about goal setting. Before I can give you any nutritional advice ever, and before you could ever say, is this food good or is this food bad? There's always one question that needs to be asked, and that is, what is the goal? For example, I am an endurance athlete. I ride bikes, I swim, I run. I work out a ton to fuel my exercise, which is very different from the things that you guys do on a daily basis. So what I need to eat per meal, I'm also a woman. What I need to eat per meal is a lot different than what you need to eat per meal. So it's not just so black and white. But if you always ask yourself before you eat something, what is the goal? Is it to satiate me for 4 hours? Is it to tide me over until dinner? Is it to fuel a workout? They all have different goals. We're going to talk about sustainable habits. So building things that you can do not only today, but potentially for the rest of your life. We're going to talk about where to start. We're going to talk about how to stay consistent along the way and how to hold each other accountable. So let's go. Okay, so I want you all with your pen and paper to just do a little bit of journaling, a little bit of like writing here. So I'm going to prompt you with some questions, and that is, I want you to pretend like today is exactly a year from right now. So let's just pretend that it is June 14th. You wake up that morning, stretch your arms up overhead, take your first deep breath, you place your feet on the ground. I want to know, how do you want to feel? And just write your answers down. Like, how do you want to feel energetically? Like, if you were to become a healthier person, how would you like your energy to be, ideally? Do you want to be someone that hits snooze 5 times? Do you want to be like homegirl here in the middle, jumping up and down on her bed? Or do you want to just wake up well rested and happy? When you look in the mirror, what do you want to see? How do you want to feel about your body? Like, do you want to see bags under your eyes? Or do you want to feel like lit up inside? Do you want to see muscles and a 6-pack? And everybody's answer can be totally different. And that's what's awesome. But if we don't have a clear idea of what we want, if we don't have a vision ahead of us, then nothing else matters. It's just all information. So I want you to I'll give you about 30 more seconds to think about how you want to feel in a year. If you were to change your habits to make you a healthier person, a more fit person, what would that look like?
Krista, remember back when you were doing the eating all the bananas?
Yeah.
I told Juan about it when we worked together back at Gemini.
Uh-huh.
Juan still does that to this day.
Oh, really? 30 bananas a day?
No. He eats bananas all day and then he eats a normal supper.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, he kind of modified it a bit, you know.
Cool. Okay, cool.
And he's probably the most in shape one we got here.
Does everybody have their 1-year plan?
Yep.
Okay. And you can always expand on this later. Now I want you to pretend that it is exactly 90 days from right now. The reason why I say 90 days is because it's about 13 weeks. Now, to some people that may seem like an eternity, but I've found that it's a really great sweet spot for staying focused and staying really disciplined, and also building these habits, because habits do take time and repetition to install themselves. So I want to know, looking at your sheet of paper that you just wrote down, could any of these answers be possible in 90 days? The reason why I ask you to go into a year is because oftentimes we underestimate what we can do in 90 days and we overestimate what we can do in 1 year. So just go ahead and circle anything that you wrote down that you think is possible by September 12th. By the way, that is exactly 90 days from right now. Cool. Okay, so now we know where you want to go. We have a clear idea of what your potential goals are. Now let's go ahead and get started. Now, it's important to, when we're, talking about changing our health, it's important to not reach for like 5 or 6 goals at the same time. It's important to just narrow in on one. So the question that I like to ask, let's just imagine here that I'm working with all of you one-on-one at this point. And imagine that, it's you and it's me, and we're sitting across from the table from each other. And you look at me and you say, Krista, all that work on my nutrition and all that work on my health was so worth it because of this. Now, I want to know what that is. What is that answer to you? And I want you to write it down. If you could walk away with one outcome in 90 days, what would that be? And don't let anything block your imagination. Cool. Moving on. Okay, so let's make sure that our goals, we actually care about them. Now, you're looking at this picture and it's a picture of a cabana boy. And I like to tell a story here because I used to have a client. And when I first met with him, I asked him what his health and fitness goals were. And he said, Krista, I want to look like a cabana boy for my wife. And I was like, oh, great. But why is that important to you? And he sat there for a good 2 to 3 minutes. And he was like, I don't know. So I just want to, say that sometimes we say that we want something, but we don't, when we actually don't want it, or when we want it for other reasons, that usually means that it's not going to be attainable, right? So we found out that cabana boy goal did not mean anything to him. And that means we needed to go back to the drawing board and find something that he actually cared about. Okay, so I have just a few questions to ask you here. So when you circled your number one goal right now for these 90 days, I want you to write down why it's important. So right under that, I want you to write why dash, and then write one good reason. So what will this goal do for you? What will achieving this allow you to do? Does this excite you? And these are just questions that I'm asking just to get your wheels turning a little bit. Do you believe that this is attainable? So throughout all my coaching, I realized that there are about 4 reasons why people want these goals ultimately. Maybe it's because of their family. Maybe it's a future family. Maybe it's their current family. You want to be active in your kids' lifestyles. You don't want to wake up feeling like crap. You want to be able to play with your kids. You want to be able to see your kids graduate and not have to, be on medication or in a wheelchair or sick. Maybe you are very adventurous and you want to, live your life without limitations. You want to be able to summit mountains and jump out of airplanes or do anything you want with this vehicle. Maybe it's for religious reasons. Maybe you feel that your body is a gift, right? Maybe you're doing it for your creator because you feel like, you were gifted this life on earth. Or another one that I hear often is, I want to be on my last day on earth and not have any regrets. I hear that one a lot. Okay. So it's important to address your why. So I have my big why that I'd like to share with y'all. So this right here is a little clock, and it's not a typical clock. It is a tide clock, and I have it. It's sitting at my desk right now. I'm looking at it, and it is set to my favorite beach in the world. The point of it is not to tell me if the tide is high or if the tide is low, but it reminds me of why I work so hard. So my big why, the one that I'm sharing with you right now, isn't necessarily for my health and my fitness, but it is for my business. So my ultimate dream in life is to own a piece of foreign property in a Spanish-speaking country and be a surfer chick beach bum. So there are days when I'm in Austin and I'm doing my nutritionist thing when I don't feel like working. I don't feel like making the Instagram post. I don't feel like talking to clients. I don't feel like doing the cold calls to get new business. Well, when that happens, I look down at this little tide clock and I remember why I work so hard. That sends my brain right to that beach, right to that piece of property that I hope to someday own. And I'm reminded, Krista, this is what this is all for. This is why this is important to you. If you don't make these cold calls, you're never going to get there. Okay, so as soon as I see that tide clock, I'm reminded of why I work so hard, and I catch a second wind. So I want to know, is there something in your life right now? Maybe it is a picture. Maybe it's a bracelet, a necklace, something you can put on your iPhone screen that reminds you of your bigger reason for achieving your goals. Now, if you wrote down your family, maybe a picture of your family would be really beneficial there. Anyways, I'm not going to put you on the spot to think of that right now, but it's very important to keep these things around because when the going gets tough, it's really beneficial to be able to look at that and tap back into that way. Okay, so some things that work really well are, putting out a passport if you like to travel, maybe a picture, a Post-it note, anything. You can write down anything, but I want it to be tangible and I want it to be a visual reminder. Okay, so now you know where you want to go. You know why you want it. Now let's talk about the practical stuff and get into the how. Okay, so I want to talk about the difference between outcome goals and behavior goals. So outcomes are something that you want to happen. An example of that is, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to add lean muscle. I want to improve my physical fitness. I want to get control of my eating habits. I want to look amazing, right? Now that's very different from a behavior goal. Okay, so when we're talking about changing our lives and like being a healthier person, we can't only focus on the outcomes, because outcomes, things that we want, don't tell us how to get there. This is where behavioral goals come into place. So behaviors, AKA habits, AKA actions, are actions that you do or practice to make progress. For example, to lose 10 pounds, a behavioral goal would be to swap out drive-through meals 3 times per week for home-cooked meals. A behavior goal would be to be better hydrated, would be to keep a big water bottle around you at all times. Or to plan better meals, you would need to set aside 10 minutes each week to plan what you're going to eat that day. So we're going to set some behavior goals. So you know exactly where you want to go by September 12th. Now I want you to pick I want you to pick a couple things. I want you to write down a couple different actions that you could do that's going to set you in motion towards that goal. So make these tiny little things. And then everybody wave at me when you have one thing written down. Cool. Awesome. And I'm here for help too. If anybody needs help, if you're like completely lost. Everybody good? Cool. Okay, so now we're going to circle one of those things, and this is going to be your focus for the next 2 weeks, okay? I want you to practice this one thing. So this could be something that you could potentially change, add, or remove. So you could be adding in like 10 push-ups per day. Or maybe if you want to become a better reader, reading 1 page per day. These are just some examples. Maybe you're removing drive-through fast food. Maybe you're removing all added sugars or removing all fried foods. These are just examples. And I'm going to get into some more examples at the end of the presentation too. Okay. So now we know the difference between outcome goals, and behavior goals. At this point, you know where you want to go, and you have one thing to focus on for the next 2 weeks. Now, let's get clear on how we're going to monitor progress, okay? So what gets measured gets moved, right? When we look at our bank account and we see it growing, it's really exciting, right? So the same thing is important to do with our health. So typically when we're talking about our health, there's a lot of different metrics that we could look at. The most common that I see is, tracking our weight, taking progress pictures, and doing our body measurements. So that could be like trying on your work uniform, any way that you can measure success. So take a look at your 90-day goal. And I want you to write down 2 options from here that you can track on a weekly basis. So maybe that's taking pictures. Maybe that is taking down your weight. If your goal is to lower your blood pressure, that would be something you'd want to monitor. Maybe you want to monitor your energy levels. And so you could just simply do like a 1 to 10 scale. How do I feel today? Make sure it's something you can do consistently. Okay. Okay. So right now, I want you to go ahead and pull up your calendar and schedule a day to check in with yourself to measure these different things. So this is a Monday. Mondays are really awesome for checking in. I think it'd be, really cool, and we can talk about accountability here in a minute. But I check in with myself every Monday. I make sure that, I'm at a stable weight. How I feel in my body looks good. When I'm very serious about, changing the way that I look, I will take body measurements. So I would pick 1 day per week, and it can seriously take 2 minutes to do this check-in, but I want you to schedule it every single week on the same day with yourself. And I want you to keep this appointment to yourself, just like you would keep it with anybody else. Cool. So now you've learned different methods for measuring progress. You've heard, and at this point, you should have chosen 2 methods for measuring your outcomes. Next, let's talk about accountability. Okay, so I'm not going to put you on the spot right now, but it's important that you aren't out there solo trying to reach your goals. We are way more likely to actually follow through and reach our goals if we have someone else involved. So I want you to find someone in your life. So maybe this is, your friends, a family member. Maybe it's someone in the room with you right now. Maybe it's your boss, mentor, a group of people who you respect. And I want you to pick one person you're going to tell about your goal. So you're going to tell this person what you want. You're going to tell them when you're going to achieve it by, and that is September 12th. And then I also want you to, and this is very important, tell them why it's important. Tell them what it's going to do for you, like, and you know, how you want to celebrate. Cool. And so here are just some really, really fun ideas to make accountability go even deeper. So oftentimes when there's a consequence involved, we follow through, right? When we know we don't pay our credit card bill on time, we get hit with interest, right? So that is a really big incentive to pay our bills consistently. So maybe make a bet with someone in the room. Give them money and tell them that if you fail to reach your goal, that they could keep it. Like that's pretty motivating to me. Like, don't mess with my money. Rewards. So maybe you can like set up a reward with some friend. Maybe it's you know, going out and getting margaritas or something at the end. I know that's not very health promoting, but you know, we're all about balance here. Maybe it's having someone join you. So maybe in the back of your mind, you're thinking, you know, I've always wanted to run a marathon, you know, maybe just asking that person that you know in your network that also likes to run marathons, or someone that you also know that goes to the gym consistently, and see if you can join them. Maybe it's signing up for an event like a Spartan race or a Tough Mudder or something like that. Sometimes we also just need to hire a coach. So sometimes it's important to have, you know, invest a little bit of money and have someone there to hold you accountable, someone that's been through it, someone who's made the mistakes that you could learn from one-on-one. So these are just some ideas to get your wheels churning. Okay, cool. So at this point, you know that accountability can make or break a goal. It's really important to not just be on a solo adventure for your goals. You learn different ways of creating accountability agreements with somebody. At this point, you should have chosen your accountability partner or partners. And then, you know, later today, you can tell them about your goals. And then now it's time to tie everything together. Okay, so this goal setting process that I just walked you through is, it's not, you can always apply it to your life. Basically, it works on a continual basis. And there are several different points that go along with it. So we are emotional creatures, you know, as human beings. We have emotions for a reason. It is our guiding system, right? So when we can tap into how we want to feel, and that's why I asked, how do you want to feel in a year? How do you want to feel in 90 days? When we focus on how we want to feel, we can allow that to guide us. So focus on the prize, the feeling. Never forget about your why. That's also very important, right? We need to understand why we're doing something in order to stay motivated. So, you know, motivation comes from knowing why you're doing something. Focusing on one thing at a time. A lot of times, you know, people that I work with, and even myself, sometimes when we want to go reach a goal, we try to sign up for 5 or 6 things at once. We're like, I'm doing keto, and I'm doing intermittent fasting, and I'm doing cardio in the morning, and I'm lifting 2 a days, and I'm blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh my goodness, that is how you fall off the wagon. That's how you're inconsistent, and that's how burnout happens. So it's important to just focus on one thing at a time. Never miss a check-in with yourself. So every Monday, I want you to set a reminder on your phone and make that your day that you check in with yourself. Keep in touch with your accountability partner. You know, don't forget to let them know that you are crushing it. If you are, don't hesitate to reach out for help if you need a little bit of support too. I mean, ideally, this is a person that really cares about your success. Okay, and then after you have successfully completed 2 weeks of that first habit and you feel like you've been really consistent with it, then you can go in and implement another thing to start on. And I'll get into some specific habits that would work really great for people in your business. Okay, it's also important to celebrate. I think especially in this country, or maybe I'll just speak for myself, it's something that I've been trying to consciously focus on is getting into the habit of celebrating even small wins. It's important to reflect and look back and pat yourself on the back for these victories. So I want you to start thinking about it on September 12th. Is there anything that's like coming up for you? So maybe that's a birthday, maybe that's a wedding, maybe you just want to go out on the lake with your friends and look really good. So start thinking about what's coming up for you in September and how you can celebrate your success for these 90 days. Okay, so here, just if you're, finding that you're stumbling on some habits for these 90 days, here are just some cornerstone habits that I've identified. So basically, if you were to follow these habits every 2 weeks, then over the course of 90 days, you would end up implementing 6 different things. So habit number 1 could be drink 24 to 32 ounces of water between each appointment. Right, so that's just a matter of keeping a big water bottle around or in your car. And every time you get in your truck to leave to go to the next house, you're just downing a bottle of water. At first, it's going to seem like a lot, but after a while, it's just going to become automatic, just like driving, like turning on the blinker or putting the car in park. We don't even think about it. We just do it. Number 2, packing 2 healthy snacks with you each morning before you leave the house. Or I've been talking to Tony about, changing some of the snacks in the office. So maybe that's just running into the office and grabbing 2 things that you can pack with you in your vehicle. And we'll get into some snack ideas here in a little bit. Number 3, spend 5 minutes each day planning out your meals for tomorrow. So it seems like a really just like simple thing to do, but I promise even 5 minutes of thinking ahead for tomorrow, what am I going to eat for breakfast? What am I going to eat for lunch? And what is my dinner going to look like? Okay, cool. Like if I'm going to these appointments, what's along the way? A lot of times we're just in, reaction mode, or we get hangry and we just end up choosing something that's really easy or fast food, or we don't have time. So we're like scarfing food down our face, or we're stopping at a convenience store. So even just taking 5 minutes every night, as we're laying out our work clothes or just getting ready for the next day can be really powerful. Okay, habit number 4, make sure you have protein with every meal you eat. And I have an example of what that looks like, and I'll get into that at the end of the presentation, but it's really important, especially for you men that are really active. You want to make sure that you're having enough protein to keep your muscles fueled, to keep you full in between each meal. And habit 5, incorporate more non-starchy vegetables with each meal. Okay, so this is when I say non-starchy, I'm talking about the colorful green, leafy, the asparagus, the Brussels sprouts, the cauliflower, the stuff like that. Not necessarily the like potatoes and stuff like that, even though I'm not against potatoes. Okay, habit 6. Another habit would be to read each nutrition label before you eat a food out of a package. So mostly just looking at the amount of added sugar in there. So this is just something that you can get into the routine of before, when you grab something that's packaged, turn it over, look at the label, and you'll see the word sugar. And then if it says, 0 grams of added sugar, typically it's a good food. Okay, so let's talk about different healthy food options in Houston, Texas. So a meal delivery service, and they actually have little stores in the Houston area called Snap Kitchen. So they have individual Snap Kitchen stores. They also have these meals inside of a Whole Foods. So some of these locations that I marked here in Houston are inside of Whole Foods, but it's wonderful because they are basically ready to heat up. All you have to do is put them in the microwave. Not every single meal needs to be microwaved either. You could just, pack that or grab that out on the go, but you can just search and Google on your iPhone or Android Snap Kitchen near me, and it'll bring you to the closest one. They also have a delivery service. I personally use it. They deliver meals to my front door every week. I get 12 meals. It's pretty awesome. I don't have to think about what I'm going to eat, and I don't have to go to the store. HEB is really rad for this as well. So they have this department called Meal Simple. Basically, they come in these little canisters, and these do require cooking. So you'll have to have, heated up in the oven, maybe the night before or the morning of, and then you have your meal ready to go with you. You can put it in some Tupperware and you're ready to go. When I said have lean protein with every meal, this is a good reference. So if you have your hand with you, which I'm pretty sure everybody has their hand with them at all times, in case something terrible happens. So look at your palm right now. And I want you to, minus your fingers, minus your thumb. I want you to pinch it like top to bottom, even the thickness. So that's like a big piece of meat right there. So that could be like a fillet, a salmon fillet, like some steak. This could be a burger patty. This could be, shrimp or a piece of whitefish or a piece of chicken. So even the thickness of it, one palm is one serving of protein. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to eat only one. You can think in half sizes too. For men, you can have anywhere between 1 to 2 palms of protein with every single meal you eat. If we're talking about eggs, 1 palm is the equivalent of 2 eggs. Okay, so it's just based on your preference and your appetite, how much you can eat at each meal. But I want you to think about this. If you're struggling to find a nutrition habit for the first 2 weeks, this is a really great one to have protein with every single meal you eat. So if you're thinking, okay, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Okay, breakfast. I want you to automatically think, what protein am I having? Cool. Oh, and if it's protein powder, it's about 25 grams of protein. Okay, here are some healthy snack ideas for the road. So these are some things that you can keep in your truck. I've also talked to Tony about keeping some of these things in the office. There's this company called Primal Kitchen. They make these little protein bars, and I think they're delicious. They have them at HEB if you wanted to grab a pack. Cashews are wonderful. These, you can keep in your car during the Texas heat and they're not going to spoil. Pistachios are also wonderful, a little bit lower in calories. I love this brand of beef jerky. It has 0 sugar and it doesn't taste like it. It's really delicious. They have this at HEB as well. I can eat a whole bag of this and it, holds me over until, dinner. This company, Vital Farms, they make really awesome eggs. So they're hard-boiled eggs and they come with salt and pepper. And then this company, Zevia, so they make these drinks that basically taste exactly like soda, but they don't have any coloring in them. So they're not going to stain your teeth. They have 0 sugar and they have 0 calories. And I swear, I could, do a taste test side by side and they taste exactly the same as root beer, as Coca-Cola, as Dr. Pepper, as ginger ale, or whatever. They are freaking delicious. And these are also at HEB, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Target. They're amazing. Okay, cool. That's the end of the presentation. If you have any questions about what I do, my website is livinglargewellness.com. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. and open it up for questions, or if anybody needs some help, I'm here.
So yesterday we talked about coffee creamer also.
Yes. Okay. So the recommendation that I have is a company called Super Coffee. They make a really great coffee creamer. They also make really great ready to drink coffees as well. They are sweet and they taste like they're really bad for you, but they're really great for you actually. And they have about 200 milligrams of caffeine. So if you're looking to get pretty lit for the day, I would go with those.
Okay, also the Ultima Replenisher we talked about.
Yes. Okay, cool. So a lot of people like to drink Gatorade. It's just been programmed in our head, probably since we were little kids, that, you know, if you're sweating a lot, you should drink Gatorade. The problem with Gatorade is if you flip over on the back of the nutrition label and you look at how much sugar it has the equivalent of about 2 to 3 donuts. So I don't know about you, but I would personally rather have 2 to 3 donuts than drink it in my Gatorade because it's way better. So there's a company that I love called Ultima, and they make little tubs of electrolyte powder, or they even make it in stick packs. But it's a great way to, you know, add it to your water. I simply just drink more water because it tastes like lemonade, and it, you know, but it's really important, especially for you men that are, you know, out there working, sweating in the hot Texas, Houston heat, to get the electrolytes in. So I would honestly recommend having at least 1 serving per day. If you could get it up to 3 servings per day, that would be ideal.
Any other questions? Yes. How many of y'all like boiled eggs? No? No? She was telling me about pasture raised boiled eggs, right?
Yeah, that's the Vital Farms pasture.
Where do you get those at?
HEB. HEB has them, yep. The thing about healthy food is because we all grew up probably in, like, you know, the 90s or before, we grew up on a lot of junk food, you know, Pop-Tarts, Gushers, whatever. And a lot of these food chemicals and dyes and additives and sugars, they mess with our taste buds. So when you start eating healthy, your taste buds will change, and it takes about 4 to 8 weeks. So if maybe you don't like something right now, but the more that you try them, your body will eventually start to adapt to it and like it.
Hey, Krista, I got a question.
Cool.
So how often is one supposed to be eating or putting something in their body every single day? Because a lot of people think that you have to eat at lunch, or you have to eat for breakfast, or you have to have 2 or 3 snacks per day. Like, what do you say as far as like actually having to put substance in your body?
Totally. Yeah. So a meal should be large enough to where it fuels you for about 4 hours. So if you're finding that you're eating a meal and you're getting hungry an hour later, that means that you're either not getting enough calories or you're not getting enough nutrition. So meaning, like, when I say the word nutrition, I'm talking about getting enough vitamins and minerals and protein.
How do you do that if you're fasting?
How do you do that if you're fasting? Like intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
So the thing about intermittent fasting, which is, so I'll explain, you know, how the body burns fat. So you can think about your human body, like you can think about a refrigerator system. So essentially, the food that you eat every day, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, that's your refrigerator. So you're burning that fuel on a daily basis. You're burning what you ate for breakfast, what you ate for lunch, and you can think about your body fat as your freezer. So you can think about your butt, your thighs, the fat that you got on your stomach. That is your storage, right? The entire purpose of fat underneath our skin is stored energy. Okay. So when you are fasting, your body is not getting any fuel from what you ate for breakfast. It's pulling it from that cupcake you had 2 weeks ago. and that that's been sitting on your thighs or your butt, right? So your body has, especially if you have excess weight to lose, your body has tons of extra calories to burn. So it's going to be pulling from those fat stores, and that's just the beauty of burning fat.
So
Does that make sense?
So does that mean fast is your recommendation?
It's hard to make a blanket recommendation, but I would say generally for men, yeah, it's a great idea.
So I know a lot of them say that, like, don't eat a meal after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
or like 8 a.m. in the next morning. That's a good fast.
Yeah. So remember the question that you always want to ask is, what is the goal, right? So if the goal is to lose weight, that would be a great recommendation, but, for example, my boyfriend who rides his bike 6 hours on a Saturday, if he fasted, and didn't eat his first meal until 8 and he started on his bike at 6 a.m., that's a different story.
Any other questions? How much water do we drink a day? Should we drink a day?
So I would recommend at least 1 gallon. Does anybody know how many ounces are in 1 gallon?
218.
Huh?
218?
Nope. Less.
Oh,
128.
oh, wow. Way off.
That's okay. My recommendation too would be to get a big water bottle. So this one is 32 ounces. It is way easier to keep track of having 3 or 4 of these versus having 16 8-ounce cups, right? So you could be the meathead in the gym with a gallon jug, and there you go. You don't even have to think about it. You know exactly how much you've had.
We got a lot of meatheads here.
Does anybody want to share their 90-day goal with me?
My 2 I put down was lose some belly fat and take my measurements
Cool. When are you going to take your measurements?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then moving forward?
Next Tuesday.
Every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday, yeah.
Perfect. Cool. And what is your first habit towards losing your belly fat?
What do you mean my first habit? Oh, to schedule a check-in, right?
Yeah, schedule a check-in. That's important. But what's gonna be something that you do on a daily basis to get you to lose the belly fat?
Probably drink more water, I guess, because I don't drink as much water.
That would be a really great place to start.
And then I already started intermittent fasting like a month or 2 ago, so
Perfect.
that's still kind of hard to get used to every morning when I'm hungry and I want to eat something.
Perfect. And drinking more water is definitely going to help intermittent fasting be easier for you. And also drinking electrolytes is going to help as well. So in the morning, I would drink water with electrolytes.
Mine was lose 15 pounds, and the way I was going to do that is do the vegetables that I talked to you about yesterday in the pot, Instapot.
Steaming vegetables?
Eating vegetables too.
Perfect. How many servings are you going to have per day?
I don't know.
How many are you having currently?
I'm not eating a lot of vegetables right now.
Perfect. So even including 1 serving per day is more. And a serving of vegetables is the size of your fist, by the way. So like a big, just imagine reaching down and grabbing a fistful of vegetables. So just go
What
ahead.
is your opinion on Chick-fil-A salads?
Ooh. I haven't looked at the menu at Chick-fil-A, but I would imagine that they have a lot of like croutons and crispy things, but it's certainly, no, they don't.
Well, one of them, only one of their salads, they have the market fresh salad and the Cobb salad. So the Cobb salad has lettuce, tomatoes, boiled egg, cheese. That's all I can think of. Then the market salad has strawberries, lettuce, blueberries,
It's all about the dressing though, right?
nuts.
Yeah. So I love what the Chick-fil-A salad has. Make sure that it always has protein on it. And
Oh,
then
Chicken as well.
cool. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not fried chicken.
Our chicken has the grilled chicken, the Cobb has the fried chicken.
Got it. Okay. Well, I would maybe see if they could substitute the grilled chicken on there. And then I can send my uncle some recommendations for salad dressings. Does anybody else want to be my accountability partner?
What are you accountable for?
Well,
What?
what am
5 miles?
I? Let's see. I will ride 100 miles on my bike at some point this year.
Well, you did just finish an Ironman competition.
I did, yeah.
Is that like those little skinny bikes or is that like a mountain bike 100 miles?
This is a skinny bike. I need to be able to go fast and not be weighed down.
So is there anything else we should keep in our office about what, other than what we talked about? You said tips were the worst thing. We had these Nature Valley bars and peanuts, which you said weren't that bad. Chips and cookies, awful.
Yeah, I mean, just anything that has one single ingredient. So when you flip over a nutrition label and you look and it has the nutrition facts panel right underneath it, it'll say ingredients. Typically, if there's one thing, cashews, pistachios, beef, you know, that's a good sign that it's a natural food. It's a whole food. It comes from the earth. It was once living. It's a good idea to eat it.
So we talked about what do you recommend these guys eat in the morning for breakfast? We talked about smoothies and a couple other things.
Yeah, I thought I put some breakfast ideas. Yeah, breakfast smoothie is wonderful. So maybe doing like some coconut milk or some almond milk inside of a blender with a protein powder and some frozen berries. Boom. Super great breakfast. You can even throw some nut butter in there, some different like chia seeds or flax seeds. Really delicious. Eggs are great.
I've always been told that the sugar in fruit is bad for you. Is that true?
Not necessarily. So I wouldn't rely heavily on fruit to get you through the day, but if you're looking at a spectrum of like worse to better, fruit is definitely a better option than Skittles, right?
So bananas are probably the best
As far as fruit goes,
as far as a quick breakfast.
a quick breakfast, yeah. So a lot of times when we think of the word fast food, right, we think of drive-through, but if you think about it, a banana is fast food. In essence, it's right there. You just unpeel it and it's there for you. So yeah, that'd be a great breakfast. Banana, nut butter. I would just, like I said, always prioritize protein. So banana's not going to have much protein in it. So if you're going to have a banana, blend it up with some protein powder and put it in a smoothie, or maybe have like some eggs with it.
There's some people in this office that are trying to go more vegetarian lifestyle. How would you recommend them putting protein in their diet without eating the beef and the chicken and the salmon and stuff like that?
Okay, cool. Yeah, great question. So I would recommend a protein powder called Sun Warrior. They make a great vegan protein. Let's see. Beans are great if your stomach can tolerate them. Different like hemp seeds are really high in protein as well. Potatoes are high in protein also.
How about that new meat that's not meat?
I would give that a hell no. Do not put that stuff in your body.
No bueno, huh?
No way, no way. That's gonna disrupt your hormones. That is going to give you man boobs, and that is gonna make you feel more like a woman.
Does that include plant-based meat?
I would include all plant-based meats in there because they're made from a product called soy, which is known to disrupt your testosterone and your chemicals. It's going to give you higher estrogen levels in your body.
What about like yogurts, like Oikos yogurts and stuff like that that has protein in it?
Yeah, sure. The company, as long as it doesn't have any added sugar in it, then I would say it's a go. So always look at the label, and if it says any added sugar, then I would just not include it. A company that I like is called Siggy's yogurt. And I'll send that recommendation to my uncle as well.
Any other questions, guys?
I
All
want
right,
to mention one last thing. If anybody's looking for a just some accountability, I have an accountability group that I message every week. Basically, each week we say something that we want to be held accountable for. So every week I say, oh, I'm Krista. This week I want to be accountable for not eating sugar. This is important to me because, and here's how I'm going to prove it. And so I have a group of like six to seven people in here, and each week we hold each other accountable. So if anybody wants to be added to that, just send me a message. I'll send over my email and my Instagram, and I'll add you to that group. It's really powerful if you're looking for an accountability partner.
How do you accountability that you're not eating sugar?
I mean, it can be an honor system.
Okay, honor system, okay.
We're high integrity people in the group. Well, thank you all. Like I said, Large Krista on Instagram. That's a really great way to find me. livinglargewellness.com is my website.
All right, Krista. Thank you, Krista.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.